Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights. Today, we're taking on a concept that, well, it paralyzes so many brilliant minds. This myth that you need a vast fortune just to get a business off the ground. We've all heard it, that little voice maybe, wait till you have millions, find a big investor first, go get a huge loan. But what if that conventional wisdom is actually, a barrier, not a blueprint?
Yeah.
We're here to unpack the real startup formula, one that seems to prioritize ingenuity way over initial investment.
It's such a pervasive idea, isn't it? This notion that launching a business has to be this grand, perfectly funded spectacle.
Right.
And honestly, it's tragic because this very misconception, it's arguably the biggest reason countless amazing, innovative ideas just never move beyond a napkin sketch or a late night thought. It creates this mental blockade for aspiring entrepreneurs, convinces them they're not ready or, maybe even not capable.
Yeah, I can see that.
So our mission in this deep dive is really to distill the most critical nuggets of knowledge from the sources you shared. We want to give you a clear, actionable shortcut to building something powerful, something sustainable, even when your resources feel, incredibly limited.
Good.
We're going to show you how starting small and growing with purpose is often actually the most powerful path.
Okay, let's unpack this then. When we talk about this broken logic, what exactly is the typical, maybe misleading mental model that people kind of internalize about starting a business?
Wow.
From what I see in the sources, it usually plays out like some kind of three-act fantasy, right? Act one, you magically conjure up a brilliant, world-changing idea.
The light bulb moment.
Exactly. Act two, like a swarm of eager investors just materializes, showering you with millions.
That's the easy money.
And then Act three is almost as an afterthought. You just start raking in the profits. It sounds almost too neat, doesn't it? Like a perfectly straight line to riches.
It really does. And what's striking is just how appealing that narrative is, but also how far it diverges from reality for most businesses that actually last. This logic, it's commonly believed, but it's often quite broken because it fundamentally misunderstands how real growth happens.
Also.
The truth, and you see this in countless success stories, is that many of the most successful, most impactful businesses we admire today, they didn't begin with some giant infusion of cash. Not at all.
Right.
They started scrappy. They defied that perceived need for massive initial capital. They didn't have a giant war chest. They had ingenuity, determination, and a real willingness to solve problems with what they had, not what they wished they had.
Yep.
And we actually have a truly remarkable story that illustrates this perfectly, one that I think you'll find incredibly inspiring and really foundational to our discussion today.
Well, I think I know the one you mean. And what a story it is. It's like a masterclass in turning adversity into opportunity. Let's talk about Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank.
Home Depot founders.
Exactly. Picture this. It's 1978. These two guys are famously, almost notoriously, fired from their jobs at a major hardware chain.
Yeah, just ousted.
Imagine that blow. Not just losing your job, but being kicked out of an industry, inside and out. For many people, that's a signal to, retreat. Look for other stable paycheck.
Sure, play it safe.
But for Bernie and Arthur, it was the exact spark they needed. They didn't retreat. Instead, they channeled all that frustration into this audacious vision.
Yeah. They weren't just thinking of another hardware store. They envisioned something genuinely revolutionary for the time.
Totally different.
They saw a future where contractors and just everyday DIY folks could walk into one single massive space and find absolutely everything under one roof.
Everything.
Not just tools and materials, but inspiration, education, genuine help. They wanted staff who didn't just sell you a drill, but actually taught you how to build that shelf. Or hosted free workshops and clinics right there in the store.
Like a community hub. Exactly. A true destination that empowered customers. With a completely different take on the hardware business, focused on massive scale and expert guidance.
But here's where their story becomes such a crucial lesson in resourcefulness.
Right.
They had this incredible, expansive vision.
Huge vision.
Yet they faced this critical, almost insurmountable challenge. A severe, almost total lack of money.
Right. The big problem.
How do you bring a vision like that to life? How do you fill a massive warehouse with this amazing array of inventory when you're starting from scratch, having just been fired with no significant capital?
Seems impossible.
By conventional standards, it seemed utterly impossible to finance.
So they improvised. And this is where their true scrappy genius just shines. It becomes this foundational principle for us today, really.
Absolutely.
Faced with acres of empty shelving in their huge new stores and zero capital for inventory, their solutions were pure entrepreneurial creativity. Get this. Suppliers, seeing their passion and maybe their potential, agreed to give them empty boxes to stack on the shelves.
Empty boxes, it sounds crazy.
Doesn't it? Think about that.
Yeah.
You'd walk into this enormous store, see these towering displays of what looked like thousands of products.
Creating that feeling of abundance.
Exactly. An immediate sense of abundance and excitement, but many were literally just empty boxes.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant psychological tactic.
Totally.
And then there's Bernie Marcus himself, legendary for literally standing outside the store, waving dollar bills, enthusiastically shouting to passersby, "Come on in, we'll save you money."
Haha. Yeah, I've heard that. Just pure hustle.
Pure hustle. He was building buzz, one person at a time, with sheer personality and this almost theatrical approach, creating something from absolutely nothing. Those incredibly humble, resourceful beginnings, marked by ingenuity and just unwavering determination. Well, that became the Home Depot we know today.
And if we connect this incredible origin story back to the broader principles we're exploring, it's such a profound lesson. It echoes through almost every successful startup. The point, as the sources really highlight, isn't necessarily to become Home Depot in terms of scale. Not everyone needs that.
Right.
But it's to fundamentally recognize that you absolutely do not need endless resources to start. What you truly need, what separates the ideas that stay in notebooks from those that become businesses. It isn't just having the right mindset and creativity as some vague concept.
Okay, so what is it then?
It's about a relentless, almost playful commitment to seeing resource constraints not as roadblocks, but as creative prompts. They force you to innovate in ways that maybe well-funded competitors never even have to consider.
Interesting, like a creative advantage.
Exactly. It's about leveraging what you already have, often in surprising ways, rather than just, lamenting what you don't.
Wow, just empty boxes.
Yeah.
That's a level of ingenuity many wouldn't even consider. It makes you realize that entrepreneurship isn't about perfectly laid plans. It's so much more about dynamic problem solving.
Precisely.
So if it's not really about the money, then what is it about? Moving from that amazing, almost unbelievable story, let's dive into the overarching principle. What does it truly mean to start small? And why is it so much more about how you think that entrepreneurial mindset than the size of your bank account?
It fundamentally boils down to a shift in perspective, really. The entrepreneurial mindset means you just don't sit around waiting for perfect conditions to magically appear.
Right. No waiting for the stars to align.
Exactly. You don't delay because you lack the ideal office or the perfect website. Instead, you start seeing opportunities everywhere, even in challenges, maybe especially in challenges.
Okay.
You act on ideas, even if they're not fully fleshed out. You launch what's often called a minimum viable product, an MVP, maybe just to get feedback.
Get something out there.
Get something out there. And crucially, you learn from every mistake. You see it not as some kind of personal failure, but as critical data, a puzzle piece that guides your next iteration.
Like being a detective.
Yeah, exactly like being a detective. Analyzing the clues, figuring out what happened, how to adjust the strategy for the next try. And this mindset, it also leans heavily on leveraging what you already have.
Like we said before.
Your existing skills, your personal credit history, maybe your passions, even your hobbies. And proactively connecting with others, people who can help accelerate your progress.
And that proactive connection, that networking from day one, that really matters, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not something you do once you've made it, but right from the absolute beginning.
Oh, absolutely.
I've often heard people say, oh, I'll network when I have something substantial to show, but it sounds like that's completely backwards.
It absolutely is backwards. A huge mistake. Long before your first sale, maybe even before your first potential loan, you need people in your corner. Your relationships are a vital part of your resources. Often, honestly, more valuable than cash in those early stages. Think of it like building your own personal advisory board.
Okay, I like that.
You need to identify key people you can proactively connect with. Mentors who can guide you, maybe share their past mistakes so you don't repeat them. Suppliers who might offer flexible terms or insights into your industry.
Right.
Early customers. They'll not only give you crucial feedback, but might become your first enthusiastic evangelists spreading the word.
Yeah, those first fans are critical.
And yes, eventually, potentially even investors who believe in your vision and your hustle. These relationships are the true currency of early entrepreneurship. They provide knowledge, support, pathways that money alone just cannot buy.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about asking for help either. It's about building this reciprocal ecosystem where, down the line, you can offer value back.
That makes perfect sense. That human connection really can be the most valuable capital. But let's address a common concern here. When we talk about being scrappy and resourceful, does that imply a lack of professionalism?
Good question.
Does it mean it's okay to be a bit unorganized or, sloppy when you're just starting out? Because I imagine some listeners are thinking, sure, I can hustle, but I also need to be taken seriously.
That's a really important distinction to make, and it's vital to clarify. Scrappy doesn't mean sloppy. In fact, you could argue it's quite the opposite sometimes.
Oh, how so?
To build on solid ground, even with limited resources, you need to be intensely strategic and professional where it really counts. Formal steps, like properly registering your business with the appropriate authorities, incredibly important.
Okay, the legal stuff.
The legal stuff. It not only gives you legal protection, separating your personal assets from your business liabilities.
Crucial.
But it also signals to potential partners, customers, even future investors that you're serious, you're legitimate, you're committed. It instantly builds a baseline of credibility.
Right. It makes you look like you know what you're doing.
Exactly. Imagine a potential client wanting to pay you if you don't have a proper business account linked to a registered entity. It just creates friction and doubt right away.
Good point. And what about things like certifications and licenses?
Yeah.
They can feel like just endless paperwork and bureaucratic hurdles when you're just trying to get off the ground.
Right.
Trying to execute your brilliant idea.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like, I could put those off until later.
It is tempting, absolutely, but that's often a short-sighted perspective that can really limit your growth down the road.
Oh.
Well, while they might not feel urgent right at the very start, these certifications and licenses are often absolutely essential for unlocking crucial contracts, partnerships, even certain funding opportunities further down the line.
Okay.
Many larger clients, government contracts, or even specific lending programs require certain certifications, whether they're industry-specific or maybe even designations like minority-owned or woman-owned business certifications.
Life can open doors.
Huge doors. Without them, you might find significant, really lucrative opportunities just closed off to you. So while, it demands attention up front, think of it as a strategic investment in your future growth.
So the formal structure supports this scrappy creativity.
Precisely. Ultimately, the formal side of entrepreneurship, the paperwork, the compliance, the underlying structure, it works hand in hand with the creative, scrappy side. They are not opposing forces at all.
Got it.
They're complementary. They ensure that your brilliant, resourceful ideas have a robust, credible framework to actually grow within. Think of it like building a strong foundation before you start adding floors to your building. You wouldn't skip the foundation, right?
Makes sense. Okay, so if we've got the mindset nailed down and we understand the importance of relationships in that formal structure, what does this all mean for you listening in terms of actionable strategies? Let's move into the practical bootstrapping tactics, the kind of things Bernie and Arthur used, and how you can apply them to your own venture, whatever it might be.
Right, let's get practical. There are so many ways to bootstrap, which, just to be clear, essentially means financing your business using only your personal resources or the company's own generated revenue.
Okay.
First, really dig deep and use what you already possess. And this goes way beyond just cash. Think about your existing skills. Maybe you're a whiz at social media.
Yeah.
Or you have a background in graphic design, or you're just really great at negotiating. These are all assets you can leverage to avoid hiring someone externally right away.
Use your own talents.
Use your talents. Consider your personal credit, but responsibly. Using a low-interest personal loan or maybe a credit card for initial essential purchases, but only if you have a clear repayment plan.
Be careful there.
Absolutely careful. And don't underestimate the support you might get from family and friends. Not just financially, maybe, but in terms of free labor, advice, or even temporary space to work.
Okay, what else?
Beyond that, actively look to borrow or barter for what you can't immediately afford. Think about, say, a web developer who needs marketing material offering to build a simple website for a graphic designer. Service for service.
Ah, the barter economy.
Exactly. Getting essential work done without touching cash, or maybe just borrowing specialized equipment from a friend for a specific project.
Right.
You can also significantly reduce overhead by sharing resources.
Yeah.
Co-working spaces instead of a dedicated office, splitting the cost of a virtual assistant with another small business owner,
Sure.
or even sharing specialized machinery with others in your industry if that applies. And a truly key strategy, maybe the most important, ruthlessly delay expenses and keep your costs as flexible as possible.
Lean and mean.
Totally. Rent rather than buy, whenever possible. Use free online tools before you subscribe to premium versions. Only pay for things when they're absolutely necessary, and ideally when revenue allows for it.
And expanding on that idea of leveraging resources, it sounds like you don't have to own everything to get started, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a different philosophy from the traditional business model of acquiring all your assets up front.
Precisely. That's a huge mental shift for some people. You absolutely do not need to purchase every asset outright, especially when you're starting small.
Okay, give us examples.
For instance, the internet offers this vast array of free online tools for pretty much everything. Project management, think Trello or Asana's free tiers. Basic graphic design, Canva is amazing. Communication, Google Workspace.
Right, tons of free stuff.
Using these can save you hundreds, maybe even thousands in initial software costs. Then, think about strategically partnering with suppliers or even early customers.
How would that work?
Well, maybe you offer a supplier slightly earlier payment terms in exchange for a small discount. Or offer early customers of a beta tester discount in return for testimonials and really valuable feedback.
Okay, get creative with deals.
Get creative. And instead of buying expensive equipment, definitely consider renting, leasing, or licensing assets. That could be anything from specialized software to vehicles to office machinery. It keeps your capital free and your balance sheet light.
Good point.
And don't forget the power of trading equity, services, or even just visibility for access to necessary resources. A good example is maybe offering a tiny percentage of future profits or even just a public endorsement to someone who provides you with initial services or maybe some space. You're effectively bringing them in as an early invested partner without spending cash.
That's incredibly smart. It's almost like a financial martial art, using your opponent's weight or lack of resources against them.
Aha, I like that analogy. Financial judo.
Yeah. And speaking of smart moves, let's dive into guerrilla tactics. This idea that creativity can consistently beat a big budget when you're just starting out. It sounds like thinking outside the box, but like really outside and on a shoestring budget.
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is that guerrilla tactics are all about thinking like a small, agile team against a larger, maybe more entrenched army. Your creativity and resourcefulness become your biggest weapons against limited funds.
So like what kind of things?
For instance, you can create massive buzz with really low-cost stunts. Think of viral social media campaigns built around a clever hashtag or playful challenge, maybe a flash mob that unexpectedly draws attention to your product, or a unique pop-up experience in a high-traffic area that encourages people to share it organically.
Okay, getting attention creative.
Exactly. Tap into underused spaces, literally, like maybe a local shop window that offers free ad space, community bulletin boards, local community events and festivals where you can set up a small but really engaging presence for very little cost.
Finding free platforms.
Finding free platforms. And crucial to this is partnering with champions. These are people who genuinely love your idea or your product and will enthusiastically spread your brand through authentic word of mouth.
Your super fans.
Your super fans. They're often early adopters, maybe key influencers in a niche community, or even local community leaders whose passion is just priceless. You can't buy that kind of authentic promotion.
It sounds like taking smart, calculated risks. But it's important to clarify here, entrepreneurs aren't just reckless gamblers, right? The stereotype is they just bet the farm.
Right.
But the reality seems to be they actively work to reduce the downside. There's a big difference between calculated risk and outright recklessness, isn't there?
That's a critical distinction and one that's often misunderstood. Real entrepreneurs manage risk. They don't ignore it. They actively engineer situations to reduce potential losses.
How do they do that?
Well, several ways. By rigorously testing ideas through small rollouts first, like launching a beta version of a product or a small pilot program for a service just to validate the concept and gather real-world feedback before committing significant resources.
Test the waters.
Test the waters. Instead of hiring full-time staff immediately, they often use contractors or freelancers. That keeps overhead flexible, allows them to scale up or down as needed, and helps ensure a good fit before making long-term commitments.
Smart.
They share risk effectively with partners, maybe through joint ventures or specific revenue-sharing agreements, so the burden is distributed.
Spread the risk.
Spreads the risk, and crucially, they negotiate flexible deals with suppliers. Perhaps consignment agreements where you only pay when you sell, or payment terms tied directly to your sales figures. This allows them to maintain agility and adapt quickly if market conditions suddenly change. It's all about calculated, iterative moves, not just blind leaps of faith.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
So while all this bootstrapping and creative maneuvering is absolutely key, especially in the early stages, at some point, for real scale, for significant growth, capital might still be needed.
Often, yes.
The crucial insight then becomes, how do you match the right funding source to your current stage of development, rather than just chasing any money that might be available?
Exactly. It's all about strategic alignment.
Yeah.
Your funding needs evolve as your business grows, right?
Sure.
So at the pre-start stage, you're typically relying on personal funds, your savings, maybe credit cards used wisely, or what's often affectionately called FFF capital, friends, family, and, well, sometimes fools who really believe in you.
Great.
This stage is just about proving a basic concept, usually. Then, as you move into the startup phase, maybe you have a validated idea, some initial traction.
Yes.
You've got some proof. Then you might look at small bank loans, possibly angel investors, individuals who provide capital often in exchange for equity, and hopefully bring valuable mentorship, too.
Right, just smart money.
Hopefully smart money. Or crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Those allow you to raise smaller amounts from a wider audience and, importantly, build a community around your product even before it launches.
Okay, then what?
Then, for significant growth, when you're really ready to scale operations, expand into new markets, maybe develop whole new product lines, then you're talking about larger bank loans, venture capital firms, VCs that invest larger sums in high-growth potential companies, usually for significant equity.
The big leagues.
The big leagues. And eventually, for very large established companies, maybe an initial public offering, an IPO, which involves selling shares to the public on a stock exchange.
Gotcha.
The key, the absolute key, is to deeply understand what you need from that capital at each specific stage. Is it speed to get to market fast? Is it maintaining full control over your vision? Or is it just raw scale, needing cash to expand rapidly?
Know what you need the money for.
Exactly. And then you match those precise needs with what each funding source primarily offers. Because each type of investor or lender comes with different expectations, different levels of control they might want, and very different terms. It's about choosing your partners wisely, always knowing that money always comes with some form of commitment or expectation attached.
We've covered so much ground today, it feels like. But if we circle back to where we began, to Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank, it really does bring it all together, doesn't it?
It really does.
They didn't just sit around, waiting for millions to magically fall into their lap before they launched Home Depot. They started with this incredible, bold vision, yes, but also with strong relationships, an almost boundless willingness to improvise, and smart, incredibly simple, yet really effective steps. It's just such a testament to the power of simply beginning.
That's the absolute essence of it, and it really is a blueprint for any entrepreneur at any level. The fundamental formula, if you want to call it that, truly boils down to mindset, people, and structure.
Mindset, people, structure, I like that.
It's about cultivating that mindset that sees opportunity and constraint, leveraging your network of people for support and growth, and building a solid, credible structure right from day one. It just underscores the profound power of starting exactly where you are, using absolutely what you've got. And please, don't overlook those seemingly simple but incredibly powerful foundational steps we talked about, like proactively networking, making sure you handle the proper business registration, getting those essential certifications early on.
The unsexy stuff.
The unsexy stuff. But it's not just bureaucratic hurdles, it's the bedrock. It sets you up for sustained professional growth, allowing you to scale your creative vision on solid ground later.
What's fascinating here, after all this, is that we've talked about grand visions, ingenious solutions like empty boxes, practical strategies, funding, the importance of foundational steps. But it all seems to boil down to one fundamental principle.
Yeah.
Just action. taking that first, even tiny step.
Absolutely. And maybe this raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider as you go about your week armed with these insights. What's one overlooked or seemingly small step you can take this week to move your idea closer to reality, leveraging only what you already have right now?
A brilliant, actionable thought to end on. Don't let those good ideas stay stuck in notebooks or just rattling around in your mind. Take that one step.
Thank you so much for diving deep with us today.
My pleasure.
We'll catch you next time.